Good morning, everybody. BDF 44 coming into another video. All right, so I've done therapy sessions, 2 of them before I went to bed last night. And I woke up fresh before I even looked at anything on my camera, rather looking at my phone, at anything at all. The first thing I did was pick up the phone, swipe it in, and then proceed to turn on the camera. So there's no new information based on what it is that I'm aware of, nothing at all. But I did wake up this morning with prayer on my heart, frustration, and some of the same things on my mind last night, as far as you know, just trying to hold on, trying to see this era through, whatever it is that I got going on right now, trying to see that path through. But I turned on the camera because, of course, you guys know that we always talk about this prayer list that I have, and if we've been following me on these therapy sessions, you've heard me refer to it at least 100 times at this point. And I realized that there was something that I could kind of document in regards to a few people on the list. Not a few, 2 people on the list that I saw going through the same thing at the same time online. You know, and I told you guys that, you know, one of the people on the list had named their daughter another person's name, and now these are 2 other people on the list that are having an issue. 2 private citizens, not famous people, but I saw them online, and essentially what was going on is one of them had a situation where their mom, no, it was her father, I believe it was. She was telling the world via her Instagram stories that she was having a tough time visiting her parents with her kids. They came down there for the holidays, and her dad kind of, you know, she perceives her father as being an emotionally manipulative person who was stepping in all of her boundaries, and then proceeded to kind of gaslight her and make her feel like what he was doing was her fault. That was her perception of what it was. But eventually she was emotionally distressed based on the personality differences she was having with her dad. You know what I mean? And then I watched another friend of mine, of course, the other person on the list. This person I actually know. I won't mention it, but they aren't famous either. But they were going through something with their brother. They were watching something on TV. That's what it was. She was watching something on television, and it was a excerpt of a scene in a movie. I wish the actor's name would come to mind, or the person it was coming to mind. I think it was a homeboy, Lip, from if you've ever watched the show Shameless. I don't know the actor's name, but it's Lip. Great actor. Dude's really, really good. Everybody on this show is great, by the way. Go check out Shameless. I love it. But yeah, homie from the show, I would never know his actor name, but Lip on the show was essentially just standing there with a monologue. You know, it was just him talking, and he was saying more or less that he was just waiting for somebody to say that they were proud of him. You know, his character had been through hell and high water, and it was more or less had put themselves through hell and high water just to get the approval of people that would never give them that approval of a family member. He just wanted them to see him in a light that they could say they were proud of him, you know, like just. And it was just like a family thing, to where I saw the comparison, because I was saying, okay, this is one girl saying that she's feeling gaslighted by a family member in regards to her father, and the other girl is saying that she's feeling as if she's not being appreciated by family members who she's always tried to impress, but never saw her accomplishments and the various things that she did in modeling and things like that as a means of showing her appreciation, or showing her acknowledgement, and letting her feel as if what she was doing made them proud. And so I'm just watching how the Lord is doing certain things, as far as putting these 2 comparisons in my life as I pray for these people on this list. And I watch as they go through what they go through, and I just understand that it's important for me to continue to, when I see these little comparisons or have conversations like this, talk about just to document them in my therapy sessions, to watch it as the Lord continues to bring these comparisons my way by way of these people I'm praying for, and to watch and see what he does for them. You know what I mean? My hope, of course, within their situations is that they find what it is they're looking for, or can learn to be absolutely happy if it doesn't show up, if it never comes, that appreciation. If that issue with her father, if he never changes his personality toward her, maybe she can get to a space where it doesn't hurt as much. Maybe he can get to a space where she can learn to accept him a bit better for who he is, and how that may go in regards to herself. Because at the end of the day, the correlation for myself, besides them 2 people going through what they're going through, and I have them on my prayer list, is the fact that I'm alone. You know, when I see stuff like that, and I see people, you know, I was watching as well as, you know, Master P and Romeo in their situation, and just wanting to see it go well, because they were having a little bit of static in the public eye. And they came back around before New Year's, I believe it was, and made peace for us to see as well. And so that's what I look to see, because at the end of the day, man, not everybody has everybody, bro. Not everybody has anybody. You know what I mean? I got friends and family that I love, but we're not close like that. We're not in each other's lives every day. And it's like, you know, I'm not saying that if I had that relationship with my family or whatever, it would be better or worse or whatever. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, when you have these static situations with people that you want to be close with, you want to be, you know, to have love for and want them to love you, and you're in a space where that's just not possible. And maybe it's their personalities that get in the way. Maybe it's your sensitivity levels to what it is that they do that may get in the way. But at the end of the day, when they're gone, you're left with either the resentment that they left you with, which you can never find peace for when they're gone, or you're left with regrets of how you handled the situation. Either way, you know, it's like, for me, I'm watching those two prayed ones, and I call them prayed ones because that's what I call people on the list. It's my nickname for them. I'm watching those two prayed ones go through this situation, and I'm understanding that it's hard for them to appreciate their loved one. It's hard for them to appreciate the people that they don't feel loved them back the right way. But obviously those people matter enough to them to where they let us know about it. You know what I mean? And my thing is, whatever the case, my prayer is that whatever's in the way of them having that relationship with their people, get out of the way. You know, that's my prayer in regards to that situation. I don't think I have anything to add to the situation, simply because I don't know the people involved. You know what I mean? Those that they're having an issue with. But I know that that's their brother in one case and their father in another case. And it's just, life is too short. Life is too short to have people you love and have energy that's bad with them while you're longing for better energy. You know what I mean? And maybe they don't allow for that. If they don't allow for that, this is what it is. But we should try to do our very best to make sure that our peace isn't being deteriorated by their actions or their inactions. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is that they're doing. Even if you have to make sure you don't come back down there and don't go visit too. You know what I mean? To keep your peace. I think whatever way to find that peace before they leave is the way that we have to go in regards to people who love those people. Because once they're gone, it's hard to find that peace. It's hard to get that closure. You know what I mean? So even if the closure is just to remind you that this person needs to stay the heck furthest away from me as humanly possible. At the end of the day, you know, when it comes to a brother or a father, you don't replace them. You get the one you got, and that's, or the brothers you got, and that's it. That's what you got. You know what I mean? So as somebody who has siblings that I love very much, some of them I speak to is more than others. Others I don't get to speak to very much. At the end of the day, I hope that I've left them with good energy about me. You know, when they think of me, I hope that they at least understand that this was somebody who was very much appreciative of being their brother, very much appreciative of being their, you know, for them being my sister, whatever the case may be, you know. And as far as my dad is concerned, I've always had a good relationship with my dad. When he passed away, we were all together, you know, family came together, and you know, it was always good energy with me and my dad. I didn't have any resentment, so I'm unable to properly relate to that. You know what I mean? I cannot, even though he wasn't in my life, and there's reason for people in most circumstances to look at that and say, yo, that's not cool. I think in my very specific situation, it just wasn't, that wasn't the situation at all. You know, mom and dad were very much friends. Mom had a lot of nice things to say about dad all the time. They never fought in my presence. They never disrespected each other's situation in my presence either, which I thought was just equally as important. You know, I can look my stepmother in the eye and say it wasn't never no funny stuff going on. You know, when I was around, I didn't see anything that would make me think that my dad was looking in any direction but his wife. And that also was a very good example for me. And that's not one we talk about very much. But like when you are a man who has a blended family and you come to your baby mama house and you hugging all up on your baby mama, and then when you go back home to your wife, your kid sees you hugging up on her too, that creates a certain level of confusion as to how you're supposed to be treating women, as to how your mommy's supposed to be treated, her worth, and all those things. And a lot of times people, we grown, we don't really give a damn. You know what I mean? Grown people go just do what makes them happy. kids just, you know, give them some toys and they'll be cool. But that's not how kids perceive things. They look at those examples and it helps mold who they want to be and how they think they should be and what their conscience is going to tell them. And so growing up the way that I did, you know, my mother always had great things to say about my pops. When I saw my father, he was going home to his wife, you feel me? And that's where he stayed at night, at home, without drinking, all that, kids in the house. He was in the house. And when it was time to get up at 4 in the morning, go to work, man's got up in the morning, 4 a.m., make sure he was up, get his kids, whoever needs to be up, get them out the house and drive hours and hours and hours down the hill to take care of his children for the second time. You know what I mean? Because he had already had a family before I got here, and this was the second family he was taking care of after the others had grown. So this was a remarkable person. I didn't really have a whole lot of bad things to say about him, even though I didn't know him that much, as well as I'd like to, you know what I'm saying? The family were together all the time. They stayed together. I always saw them together. So when I see him, he goes to his family, everybody's together. So I know the stock I come from. Even though I don't have that togetherness in my life, I got it in my heart because every of the moments I saw them, I always was able to see them in one place. You know what I mean? Family members, always. As a child, I know. I see all my aunts at once. I see all my cousins at once. I see all my brothers at once all the time because we're going to either go to church together. We're going to go to the family reunions. We're going to gather at people's houses. And so I understood family in small clusters. You know what I mean? And it was enough for me to understand the fullness of what it was that I was ultimately missing. You know what I mean? It's to say that I wish that I had more of that, but I wish that everybody had that too, all the time. And for those of you who do, and some of the static with your family and the closest to your family makes it so that it's not as romanticized in your reality as it is in my mind, I respect that. Because the closer you get to people, sometimes the worse it can be. But for the distance I am with my family, I have nothing but great things to say about everybody. And I guess that was the perception the Lord wanted me to have up to this point. You know, no bad energy for literally nobody I have blood with. And that is one of the biggest blessings in my life. Having gone through issues with my mom in the household or growing up, we had some static, a lot of it, especially when I was going through some of my most difficult mental spaces. And we had our conversations about some of the stuff that was before she passed away. We were able to get some of them. I was able to get some of those conversations into words for her to hear alive in the flesh. And get to say sorry and get to hear her say her part and then get to hug it out and say we're going to move forward and did, you know, that kind of thing. So the closure came, even though some of that stuff is like, it hurt back then, but it was like the conversation was had and that was what was needed. So if anything, I asked you guys try to find closure for whatever is necessary. I think it helped me. And I hope that the Lord will help those two girls who we're referring to, of whom will not be named, with their circumstance and their family members, and hopefully they can see some change there that they can be pleased with. You know what I mean? Seeing my friend, the one who had posted the lip and monologue, I just understood, like, you know, some of the things that she had been through personally and how some of those things could kind of make sense when she started talking about that particular aspect of her mindset or what she was going through. So it's like, you know, you never know what people are going through, but once you start to find out, things start to make sense. It's that kind of thing. And so that's why I try to be patient with people. You don't know where people are coming from. You don't know where they're going, and you definitely don't know what they're fighting with. You know, that kind of thing. But, you know, that's why people are on the list. That's why I made the list in the first place, because I have people in my life that I really appreciate but don't know that well. So whatever they're dealing with, you know what I mean, I can't help them. But I know someone who can. That's one of the ways I approach my life. And I'm seeing it, you know, it's a wave of things. Like all the people on the list that I'm aware of, that I look at online over the weekend, this past couple of days, most of them been having some tough days. For the New Year's was not really all that great for most of the people that I've been paying attention to online for this list. Where they have this going on. Another friend of mine who's also on the list, obviously, she was having a mental health weekend. Her space was just not right. You know, obviously with the Tory Lanez situation, he ain't do it too good. Kanye still, God knows where, hopefully he's well. You know, it's just a lot of stuff that's happening over these last couple of weeks with this list that ain't been all that great. And of course, you've seen some good things that have been great too. People having children on the list, you know what I mean? As I said, young Lexi was born. I didn't tell you her name, but yeah, that was the name of the baby. And somebody else on the list named Lexi. And then of course, You know, there were some other things as well that it slipped my mind, but it's like you could see how it's almost like they're all on the same wave. It's almost like the people on this list are all kind of going through similar spiritual attacks or various circumstances. And it's like, all right, well, let's see if we can all come out of it at the same time too, since the prayers are being prayed, right? But this is the reality of what I'm seeing here, you know. This is exactly what I'm seeing. And so I bring these things to you guys just to point, try to prove he's real, try to prove if there's some method to this madness that we can connect to it, and find some favor. If there's a living God out there that really wants to see us succeed, and he could be found in the numbers and the timing of things, damn it, I'm looking for him, literally. So that's what I'm doing. I think, you know, when I think about the people that I'm praying for, I just want to see them have a good year, you know, not to ramble too much into nothingness, but that's what it is. I want to see success. I want to see people have breakthroughs. I want to see the kids continue to grow, happy days. You know, I saw a lot of pictures, even though it seemed like a lot of people were having some issues with their mental, you know, on that list. I also saw a lot of pictures of people having a good time with their families on that list. I saw people who with their loved ones, people they ain't seen in a while, on that list. You know what I mean? So it was some good and some bad, but it just seemed like the spiritual aspect of it, people were having a tough weekend. So, and myself too, you know, I mean, I've had a good weekend, but the pressures of what it is that I'm dealing with, and just like I said in the last therapy session, just sitting here in this space waiting for something to happen and feel like it ain't happening at all. And it feels like I'm gonna have to adjust to that by doing some things that I desperately do not want to do. In that space, I'm trying to prepare myself for in whatever way I can. And I think I'm actually getting there in terms of, you know, it's just constant acknowledgement that this is something that I did for God. So if it didn't work out, then I assume that it's going to work out anyway, because anything I do for God is worked out for me. So it's like, even if I'm pointing in the wrong direction, I hope to land on my feet. And so we'll see what happens, man. I don't know of a world where I do things the right way as it pertains to my spirit and feeling good and feeling like I've made God happy, and it don't work out. This would be a first. And while I don't know that I've made him fully happy, I think I've done things in his name that I thought was done for the right reasons. And I turned on this camera because he compelled me to make sure I documented those two things in regards to those two people. That's exactly what it was. He was like, turn on the camera and don't even look at nothing else. Just make sure you document what you know about that situation for all time. And so that's what it is, man. Is there something else I want to say? I don't think so. I think my therapy session is pretty much set. I want to see everybody succeed, get your life where you want it to be. Keep God first if you believe in him, and if you don't, watch people like myself try our very best to prove he exists. Sorry about that. Phone did all kind of stuff right there. Wasn't supposed to do, but yeah, that's what it is. We're trying our very best to prove it, man. Trying our very best to find God, make him happy, support him in whatever way we can. We don't ever look at it that way, right? Human beings don't, because God don't need our support. God is an entity that you get everything from and then you obey. That's it, right? But there was a thing, I don't know if I said this on camera or not. I was kind of going through a phase where I was just speaking aloud yesterday, and some of the things that came to my mind, actually it was the day before yesterday, it was New Year's Eve, but some of the things that came to my mind was just understanding all the pain that the Lord takes back from us, all the disappointment that may come his way depending on what he wanted from us and what it is we actually do. I could see a world where there's a living God somewhere who's not very happy at all, and it's not anger that he's feeling, but real deep sadness and sorrow. And that's like, when I think of a God in the sky, the last thing I'm thinking about is a child in the corner, right? Because that's blasphemous for us to even think of God as anything less than all world and all powerful. But the closer I get to God, I'm telling you guys something, the closer I get to God, the more I get the feeling that his energy is that of something that needs to be like almost encouraged. That's the vibes, y'all. Like, even though he's all world, he's been dealing with us and everything that comes with the pain and the tragedies of existence for as long as it's been, and is aware of what's coming for as long as it goes. And I just think that there's reason for a person who's praying and looking for God to wonder if who they will find is as happy as one would think a God would be. or as angry as one would think a God would be, and not sorrowful or apologetic to the suffering that may have been caused on his watch. That's what comes to me. I haven't said this on camera because I think it's literally blasphemous in a way. But part of what and I think it's okay to say this because I have said it in meditation, and I've heard these words in meditation. So I'm going to let you guys know what I've heard. I've heard apologies sent my way. Sometimes when I pray, I hear the word "I'm sorry." I do. And I'm not talking to myself. This is God talking to me. For not what maybe he put me through or what I put myself through on his watch, but just the world itself. It's gotten out of hand. And he knows it. He knows it. It's one of those things. It's like, you know, I made the analogy a couple of days ago on this camera. It was like, you know, it's going to be a lot of people who get to heaven and they're going to hear God say sorry instead of go to hell. I'm mad at you. And you had to deal with a whole lot of evil that you had no control over. You had to deal with a whole lot of suggestion about yourself and your mind and the arenas around you. The world around you, so to speak, didn't necessarily coach you into happiness or loving me or finding yourself in a place of peace. That wasn't the world I left you in. And so that's what came to me sometimes when I pray. Sometimes I hear "I'm so sorry," literally. And it's like, wow, has anyone else ever heard that when they pray? Has anybody else ever heard anything like that? Because I've never heard anything like that. I'm the only person I've ever heard of experience anything of that nature. But that is exactly what I felt sometimes over this last year and a half. Not too often, but sometimes. And including right now, I'm feeling it right now. It's just a real deep sorrow for the regret that we have to face as human beings without the information and the understanding of a factual entity that loves us. And that conundrum that he can't come down here and save us from all of our problems, I surmise could be something that's regrettable sometimes, depending on what it is that we face, depending on what it is that he wants for us and what it is that actually happens. I don't know. I just feel like there's room for that to be possible. And I don't think that religion would dare enter into space like that to paint the Lord that way. They would never. It's not built for religion to be able to effectively have you worshiping a God that isn't seen as all world and strong, but more so regretful and sorrowful. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say weak, but appearing to be. You know what I mean? In the sense that he's sorrowful and wishes for our forgiveness in certain situations, just as we wish for his. You know what I mean? These things are not going to be taught to us. They're not. That's not something that I've never read. You know what I'm saying? So it just is what it is. It is what it is. It's not what it's not. Don't take my word for it. It's just what I get when I pray, man. Sometimes. Not all the time. Don't get that twisted. But, yeah, man, there's some regret, I believe. There's some regret to the suffering that we all face together. There's some regret to the mistakes that are out here in regards to energies. Like, you know, a lot of people looking for love for real. They're praying for it. And they proceed to go toward the wrong things because that's what's there for them to learn. And he knows that. I know that. And that's why I speak the way that I do. That's exactly why I speak the way that I do. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.